Welcome to Vilis, Broker of Blood. As far as our opening hand goes, this we do have lands, but this is not that good. So let's go and mulligan on that one. And yeah, I like this. We've got Mana Crypt, Star Compass, Swamp Wall. Yeah, we'll keep on this one. I like this. Let's get Vilis pop back up. Let's go and lead off with. Do we want to put a card on the? Oh yeah, we need to put a card on the bottom of our alignment. And you know what? Let's go and put Besage on the bottom. I think that'll be okay. And then click OK. Then anything else, we'll go and lead off with Swamp. We'll have. I think we actually go Swamp, Mana Crypt into Worn Power Stone. I think that sounds like a pretty good start. And then hopefully we've drawn a few more lanes or drawn to some sort of card draw. That'll definitely allow us to get off to a really good opening. But we'll wait for our opponent to see if they need to mulligan, then we'll get this game started. Okay, so let's go Swamp, and then hopefully our opponent doesn't scoop, but I completely understand if somebody's going to scoop on something like this. So let's go Mana Crypt. Just in case we need one more black source, I think we'll just end up going Star Compass. I think that'll be a good option for us. So it enters the battlefield tapped, and then we're going to go and pass the turn over to our opponent. So we're playing Vilis, Broker of Blood. Flying 1 black mana, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Then whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Let's go and choose Tails on this Mana Crypt trigger, and lost the flip. We were 0 for 1 on those triggers, and we run into Swamp. So let's go Swamp. We're going to go for Worn Power Stone. And that's going to come into play tap. Then we're going to go and kick it back over there. Playing against Yarok, the Desecrated, Death Touch, and Lifelink. And if you heard some squeaking, that was my production assistant, Dorothy. She wants me to pick her up, so I'm going to go and do that now. There we go. That way she's not doing some meowing during the video. Okay, there we go. Yes, I know. All right, so we are situated now. Okay, so click OK. Sorry about that. Kind of having a little bit of a rough start to this video. I'll talk about that here in a second. On the flip, we were 1 for 2 on those Mana Crypt triggers, and then we were just getting all the mana. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's go Chromatic Lantern. That's going to be 1, 2. We'll have Chromatic Lantern into the battlefield, and then we're going to go for. And then let's go Wall of Blood. I think that'd be good. But actually, now that I think about it, with Wall of Blood, let's just go and hold on to it. If we're going to end up going Vilis next turn, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, we'll actually need Wall of Blood on the battlefield. So let's go for Wall of Blood. And I'll have that enter the battlefield, and then we'll go and tap the pass turn over to opponent. Yeah, I was really excited to play against Yarok, and OBS wasn't pulling up, so I was trying to get it to pull up really quick so we could start to record the video. And I didn't want our opponent to scoop up, because I always like to get new commanders versus new commanders. It's a fun little interaction. And then also at the same time, Dorothy was my cat. Production assistant wanted me to put her in my lap, so a little bit of a rough start. So let's go and go Vilis, Broker of Blood. I think that's going to be pretty good. It's going to be black, and we can actually really start to kind of get some good stuff going once we get Wall of Blood down. Okay, so we're going to Vilis enter the battlefield, and then anything else, we're going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. Now, there is one way that we'd actually get off to pretty decent start. We can actually swing with Vilis. It does have flying. It's going to be able to knock our opponent down to 22. Once we go for Wall of Blood, that will allow us to kind of pay some life and start to draw some cards. So one of the things that we can tutor up with Vampiric Tutor to go for something like Essence Harvest. So we can deal a bunch of damage to our opponent by sacrificing Wall of Blood to that, and I think we might end up going for that. This is one of the downsides to Vilis, is that Vilis is just, this is definitely very much a very top tier opening hand. Mana Crypt into Worn Power Stone into Chromatic Lantern. That is a lot of mana. So do we want to? No, we'll probably end up waiting on Wall of Blood next turn. So during our upkeep, let's go Vampiric Tutor. And here's the other good thing about Vilis, is that once you pay live for Mana Crypt, you get to draw those cards, which is such a good feeling. Let's get this popped out. Let's go and grab Essence Harvest. There we go. I'm going to grab Essence Harvest. It's going to go on top. But then even something like Vampiric Tutor, you get to draw those draw 2 cards. So you basically just put it into your hand. So we run into another Swamp. Let's go and choose Tails on this one. And lost the flip, which is a very good thing. I think we're 1 for 4 on those Mana Crypt triggers. This is going to be a 3 more card draw that we get into. And then, ooh, this is like, if you could stack your hand to draw whatever cards you needed, this would probably be about it. So let's go 1, 2, Chromatic Lantern. Huge props to our opponent for even just allowing this shenanigan to happen. So we do need at least, let's go Mana Vault. Use that last colorless mana. And if we end up going Psychosis Crawler, yeah, I like that. So we go Psychosis Crawler. Let's go and push in for 8 with Vilis in the air. And I'll show you how we can do this. So we're going to go and swing in for 8. There we go. Attack our opponent. It's going to put them down to 22. And then once we start to go for these activations off Wall of Blood, we can go for this Essence Harvest. They're going to put a lane on the battlefield. Okay. It's going to put them down to 22. And let's go and go for these Wall of Blood triggers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to always yield to these. And once we get enough stuff, I'm going to kind of show you how we go for that Essence Harvest once we get these triggers going. Okay, just to be safe, this is going to be a 12-14. Now let's go for Essence Harvest. We're going to target our opponent. We're going to pay a 1-2, then black. And you can see what sort of shenanigans this allows you to go for. There we go. It's going to be 12 damage, puts them down to -5. And yeah, this is Vilis is pretty busted sometimes. But I will say this is a very, very strong God hand. And so, but you get to see a Wall of Blood Essence Harvest win, which was kind of fun. But anyways, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye. Welcome to Vilis, Broker of Blood. And as far as opening hand goes, yes, like it. We're definitely going to keep on this one. Let's get Vilis pop back up. We've got Double Swamp, Mana Crypt, Sign in Blood. Oh, this is beautiful. So let's go and lead off with Swamp, and then anything else, we're going to pass the turret over to our opponent. We're playing Vilis, Broker of Blood. Flying, then for a 1 black mana activation, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. Then, whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. And our opponent's going to lead off with an Opulent Palace. And we will cover Muldrotha in just a second. So let's go and go Swamp. And I think what we might end up going for, I just straight up go Sign in Blood. I think that, yeah, that'd be pretty good. So let's just go Sign in Blood. I'm not wanting to take too much damage from Mana Crypt just yet. Well, there we go. Run into a Crypt Gas. So let's go and pass turn to our opponent. So playing against Muldrotha, the Gravetide. During each of your turns, you may play up to 1 permanent card of each permanent type from your graveyard. If you don't, that's a little clunky as far as understanding basically anything that's on the battlefield. Enchantment, artifact, creature, all that fun stuff. So we'll see what we run into for the card draw Ritual. And I guess at this point, we can go Ancient Craving with Mana Crypt. That'll be some pretty good card draw. But you know what? I think I kind of like, I like going rolling out the Mana Crypt. So let's go for Mana Crypt. If they've got a counter spell, they've got it. Let's go for Crypt Gas. It'll be 1-2. Have Crypt Gas into the battlefield. And that's 2 mana we can tap down for, but we're simply just going to go and pass the turn to our opponent and then kick it back over there. So we did cover both commanders. Give a quick shout out to our sponsors, MTGOTraders. If you want to build your very own Vilis deck, and they've got all the busted pieces that you may need. And also shout out to inkgaming.com. They can use coupon code JOLT to get 10% off your order. And they're going to grab our Crypt Gas, or if you can type in JOLT539 to see some of my cool playmat designs. And last but not least, I started a Patreon. So there's a link down in the description below if you'd like to join that. If you can't, hey, just tell somebody about the channel. I would greatly appreciate that. So we've got Mana Crypt. That's one the flip. We are 1 for 1 on our Mana Crypt triggers. And we draw to Wall of Blood. So at this point, I definitely want to make the land drop. We're not really getting down Vilis just anytime soon at this point. So let's go and go for Ancient Craving. Oh, there we go. It's going to be Swamp, and then nothing for 2. We could go for Ritual, but definitely don't have Threshold. So let's simply just go and kick it back over there. But yes, it's officially free time. We can have some fun. Hope you're excited about Vilis. Now, Vilis is one of those commanders that is, it is very busted. If everything goes right, if you get a lot of mana rocks down, and then you have something like Wall of Blood, it ends up just being a very gnarly deck to play against. But our opponent's pacing it pretty well. They took care of Crypt Gas, took care of Mana Crypt with Manglehorn. So hopefully we can, as long as we just keep making the land drops, we'll be in a good spot to get down Vilis. So, and there we go, drawn to another one. So let's go for Swamp. And I think at this point, we go Wall of Blood. That'd be good. Yeah, let's go for that. So we're going to go for Wall of Blood. This is going to be a 0-2. Yeah, I think I like that. Because if we end up going Wall of Blood, what's going to end up happening is if they have spot removal, that's pretty much something you want to kill on site whenever you see Wall of Blood. And if something does end up happening, we might end up working towards Ritual just to kind of get that extra mana into our mana pool. That way we can get Vilis onto the battlefield. So opponent's going to go for Dimir Signet. But yeah, basically, long story short of the deck, this is definitely Vilis Storm. This is Vilis Busted. You can definitely build a Vilis kind of control style deck with mono black. But what we're trying to do with this one is basically just get down Vilis and use something like Wall of Blood to draw a ton of cards. We've got different ways that we can actually win with Wall of Blood, which is a ton of fun. I'll talk about that here in a second. And let's see what you're drawn to for the turn. And we run into, and we might end up going for Infernal Contract. This is going to be half our live total. Man, I don't know if we should do that, though. We'll see. Let's see what we draw into for the turn. All right, Dark Petition. Let's go Swamp. And we definitely, yeah, we do have Spell Mastery online. So let's say we go Dark Petition. That's going to give us 4 total mana. Yeah, I think I kind of like going... If we end up going coffers, I think that'll be the safer bet, because we are looking at Muldrotha being able to deal with a lot of stuff. Yeah, let's do that. So we're going to go Dark Petition. We're simply just going to go and grab coffers. We'll be able to add a little bit of extra mana to our mana pool. So let's go and grab coffers. That'll be the land we can make for next turn. And then anything else? No, let's simply just going to go and pass the turn to our opponent. So we're going to lose that last 3 mana, unfortunately. But once we get down coffers, that's really going to allow us, because that's going to be... We've got... We're going to have 6 total mana, 4, then with coffers, yeah, that'll put us in a spot where we can actually end up going for Vilis and get a lot of card draw, so that'll be really good for us. Now, our opponent will end up going for Bajuka Bog. That does kind of cut us off Cabal Ritual, but, you know, we can make this work. Okay, so let's go and get coffers off. Sorry about that. My niece came over, and you might have heard her walking in. So let's go coffers. That's going to generate a pretty good chunk of mana. That's going to be 6, and that does allow us to end up tapping out for Vilis and still go for the activations off Wall of Blood. I think that'll be pretty good. So let's go for Vilis, especially with our opponent being tapped out, because mainly what we want to do is we want to be able to cash in as much card draw as possible. And we'll start to go for those activations during our opponent's turn. So I'm not going to swing it with Wall of Blood, and then anything else we're going to go and pass the turn. Now, like I mentioned, you know, Vilis is an 8-drop commander. You know, you want to have some sort of value once it hits the battlefield. If you get Vilis down for 8, tap out, and your opponent hits it with some sort of Grave Pack style trigger or something like that on the back end, you're going to be in a really tough spot to close the game out. Now, with us having Wall of Blood down, we can basically just instant speed react to any sort of action from our opponent. As you can tell, we can go for something like Wall of Blood activations in response to the sacrificing of creatures. I think if we want to end up doing this, I think our best bet, if we want to end up going Ulcerate, we could end up going for that. Yeah, let's go Ulcerate on Manglehorn. And that way we can just cash in some pretty good card draw. That's going to get rid of Manglehorn. That's going to force them to get rid of Merciless Executioner. That's going to allow us to... Ooh, we draw into Rite of Consumption, which is definitely one of the ways that you can win with Wall of Blood. So let's go ahead and start to go for some of these Wall of Blood activations. And what we're going to do on this one is I'm just going to go and speed through these triggers really quick. Okay, so we've run into... So we're going to have to sacrifice a creature. I think at this point, we want to leave Vilis on the battlefield, so let's go and make, luckily we finally ran into Undying Evil. You know, let's go and go for one more activation. Either way, it's not going to matter. All right, so we're going to go for that. Let's go Undying Evil on Vilis. And let's go and have Vilis go to the graveyard instead of the command zone. So, we're going to have to sacrifice another creature. That's going to be Grave Pack. We're going to go and sacrifice, Wall of Blood. And then each player sacrifices a creature. We're going to sacrifice Vilis. And, well, that may end up catching us back on the Grave Pack trigger. Oh, yeah, that's gonna be a bummer. Okay, that ends up... Unfortunately, I didn't realize that interaction would work that way, but we've completely restocked our hand. We actually have access to a ton of mana, and let's see what we draw into for the turn. And we'll see what they're tapping out for, but we should be able to at least get off to a pretty nice Torment of Hellfire. Okay, our opponent paused for a second. Let's go ahead and get this popped out. Just want to make sure I'm making the correct land drop, because there's been a lot of lands that we ran into. So we're still looking at just a regular swamp. Let's go coffers. We're able to add a ton of mana. Let's just go and dump some of these artifacts on the battlefield. The only downside is that we did not run into one of our storm cards. Other than that, we would have gotten off to a really nice storm. Okay, so we're going to sacrifice all those lands. So what ended up happening is we went for Rain of Filth, that gives our lands the ability to sack them to add black mana. Then we went for Cabal Ritual to add that mana to our mana pool. Now we're going to go for Torment of Hellfire. There we go. So tap down this double black. And you can definitely see, you know, there's numerous ways you can win with this deck. We had Wall of Blood, we had Essence Harvest, but we're going to go X equals 23. Click OK, and let's see if our opponent can fight through this Torment of Hellfire, but that should be enough right there. But this is pretty much what you want to do with Vilis. If you're going to be doing busted things, have instant speed card draw, this is exactly what you want to happen. Okay, so our opponent unfortunately must have disconnected or something, because we hopped on, I got Torment of Hellfire on the stack, and then I don't know. It doesn't say they disconnected, but that apparently they've gone away from computer. So I'm not really sure what the issue is. But shout out to our opponent. We've got Torment of Hellfire being resolved. If they've got a counterspell, I'll probably assume they would have used it by now. So, but anyways, you can definitely see what this deck is capable of. You know, when you can get a lot of this mana down, sack those lanes out, and go for a Torment of Hellfire for 23. So shout out to our opponent. Hopefully everything's okay on their side. And if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.